I'm Steph from cheapskatecook.com and welcome to my kitchen. I'm so excited that you're here because we're going to talk about 4 steps to creating a home management system that works for you. And also, there is major construction happening right outside my window, so if you have trouble hearing me, please chime in throughout the video and let me know whether the drills are drowning out my voice. So we are going to talk about those 4 steps, and I'm going to go ahead and dive right in as people join us, because I want to tell you a story about homemaking and home management, and the first time that I felt like I was really drowning in all of the chores and keeping up with everything. And that was when my second son was born, and I had a newborn and a 1-year-old in a tiny condo. Like, it was so tiny that it almost qualified as a tiny house. So we were there, and it was a very, it wasn't a horribly unsafe neighborhood, but it was unsafe enough that we couldn't just, go for a walk or roam around outside. So I had 2 babies and a tiny house and a giant hand-me-down TV. It was like, the ones that are like this deep, and 1 DVD about baby signing time. And that was how we did life for a while. And I just remember feeling like I was so overwhelmed, and I used to think that I was a good housekeeper, but there was no way that I could keep up with anything. All I could do was keep people alive, and that was it. And then a couple of years later, when my third son was born, he was about 8 months old when my husband was hit by a truck on his way home from work. And that started a very nightmarish season for our whole family, because obviously hit by a truck, and he survived, but he's gone through 13 surgeries, and he's doing really well now, but it's kind of an ongoing injury. And during that particular season, right after the crash, my job changed from mom and taking care of the house and homeschooling our kids and taking care of a baby to full-time caregiver for my husband, as our life just went and also homeschooling our kids and taking care of our baby and everything else that comes with managing a home. So I share this story to tell you that I understand that some seasons are more difficult than others, and some seasons you feel like you're drowning, and then other seasons maybe you feel like you're a little bit more on top of it. And I just want to encourage you and maybe point out a little bit that when we are in really difficult seasons, then we feel like there's no way that we can keep track of everything in our home that we need to take care of. But when we are in a normal season and things are going okay everywhere else in life, we probably still don't feel like we're doing a good job keeping track of the home. And so I just want to point out that no matter where you are, you're probably struggling with this, and I understand that. And there are a few people who probably feel like they have this all handled, and you're probably not watching this video because you have it all handled. So we're going to talk about 4 steps to creating a home management system that works for you, and it's a little unconventional. So because I have learned a lot about difficult seasons and trying to juggle so many things and needing to face home management with a lot of grace along the way, then I kind of have an unconventional approach to home management. So I'm going to share that with you. The first step is recognizing the difference between the urgent and the important. And I first read about this in an article years and years ago, and I just read it and was like, oh, that's interesting. But as I learned more and more about managing my home, it really struck me the difference between the urgent and the important. The urgent is basically all the stuff that is constantly reminding you that it needs to be done right now. And that is the loudest voice probably in our day. So that the urgent would be answering those texts and making that appointment and feeding the kids and figuring out what dinner is and running the errands and after school activities. And those are the things that are loud, that we feel like we have to get done because they're the things that are chirping in our ear all day. And then the important are the things that are more of a long-term vision, and they're probably things that resonate more in your soul. And there are places where the urgent and the important intersect. And so the urgent is not bad. They are all a lot of them are probably necessary things. It's okay to, it's important to feed your kids lunch. It's important to figure out what there is for dinner. It's important to go to the grocery store. It's important to, pick up your kid from school. But some of them are connected to the important, and some of them are just noise. So the important things are things like getting out of debt and eating well, maybe making a home-cooked meal, playing with your kids, being outside, having quiet time, alone time. And where they intersect are things like, in order to have a home-cooked meal, you have to go to the grocery store. So urgent is not necessarily a bad thing, but there's a difference between urgent and what's important. And when we can learn to recognize the difference between those two things, then we can maybe quiet down some of the urgent and take a step back and figure out, okay, what is really important here? Yes, I need to fix my kids' lunch and I need to do all this, but what's important to me is having a good relationship with my kids. And so while I'm throwing whatever leftovers we have at the table, maybe I should take a minute and talk with them or listen to them, or maybe I need to take this time to go be alone while they eat food because I haven't gotten alone time. So often when in home management, we're just focusing on the urgent and the tasks, and I want to encourage you to take a step back and get a better vision of what is important. And that is connected to the next step, which is figuring out your priorities. There are a lot of different resources out there that can teach you how to kind of slough off what you feel like your priorities should be and what your priorities actually should be. But the resource that has helped me the most is a company called Cultivate What Matters, and they have a free goal setting series every January. It's up there right now, so you don't need to wait till January to sift it through, but we're coming up to holidays, and so I just wanted to point that out, that when January comes around and you're ready to kind of refocus things, then that might be something to look at. And I linked to that in the link that's in the description, so you can go ahead and check that out after the video. But they put out these books called, I don't know if you can see that in the light, okay, a little bit, called Power Sheets. And I don't spend a lot of money on things, but I did spend some money on a couple of these over the last couple of years because they were so powerful in teaching me what my actual priorities were and what really mattered to me and how I can make that happen in my life through my home management. And then, let's see, their goal setting series in January is free, and like I said, it's right up there now for you to look at. So once you've figured out the difference between the urgent and the important, and once you are thinking, more about what matters to you and what your priorities are, so you're not thinking, oh, I need to make sure that all the laundry is I'm on top of all the laundry all the time just because that seems like a good thing to do, but really, what matters to you? Is it really important to be on top of the laundry all the time? Then I want to tell you step 3, okay? 3. So step 3 is, this was a big one for me, and I think it's a big one for a lot of us, especially if we feel like we are struggling in the home management area, and that is recognizing that perfection is a lie. So I also want you to not just recognize that it's a lie, but I want you to reject perfection. And the biggest resource for me was the book Finish by Jon Acuff, which is probably available at your library because it's everywhere. It's also available on Audible and probably on your library's audio app. But Finish was amazing because it talks about exactly what perfectionism is, and I realized that was how I was approaching my home management. That if I did not have a clean house, then I was failing in home management. And there are a couple of things in Finish that were my biggest takeaways and that I started applying to how I manage my home. So I'm going to share those with you. And I hope that they help you too. Okay, so the first thing is whatever season that you are in, you need to acknowledge that you can't do everything. You can't. I know we feel like we have to do all these things, but you can't, and that's okay, because if you're a believer, then the constant struggle between not being able to be perfect and get it all done helps us rely on the Lord. And if you are not a believer, then it's just a part of life, right? None of us is perfect. We all know this. And so my first biggest takeaway from Finish was intentionally planning intentional incompetence. Totally screwed that up. Intentional incompetence. So the idea behind that is that whatever season you are in, whether you are nursing babies and taking care of toddlers, or you are just starting homeschooling, or you are trying to do a whole overhaul of your grocery budget and your health because you've figured out that someone has allergies, or you're trying to do some kind of healing, or you're trying to get out of debt, whatever season that you are in, you are going to choose on purpose what you are going to suck at. And that is going to help you accomplish what is really important to you. So for example, this past week on Instagram stories, I was sharing, every morning I shared what my kitchen looked like in the morning. And it was always, always gross, because I do not wash my dishes in the evening. I know that breaks a lot of people's rules, especially a lot of people who love the kitchen and love cooking like I do, but I do not wash my dishes in the evening. And the reason for that is because my kids are learning to take over that job. And in the evening, they need to get ready for bed and all of that. And so I'm just not going to clean my kitchen. We clean our kitchen in the morning instead. And that in this season, then I'm okay with having a messy kitchen most of the time because my kids are learning how to clean it. The other thing is staying on top of laundry. I do not fold my laundry right away. I do a load of laundry every day, but I do not put it away. And again, part of that is because my kids are learning to put stuff away. And so that means it's not going to get done perfectly and it's not going to get done on time, but I am not going to do it because I spent the last 10 years putting everybody's laundry away, and I'm done now. I'm going to put away my laundry and my stuff, and we're going to empower the kids to take care of themselves. So that's another area where I am going to be incompetent. And then the other area where I am incompetent is keeping the bathrooms clean. If you come over to my house and you give me 15 minutes warning, then my bathrooms will probably be clean because that's a priority. I don't like having gross bathrooms when people are over. But for our family, then we keep it mostly sanitary, but it is not something that I lose sleep over because this is not the season for keeping a perfectly clean house. We've got construction going on in our neighborhood 10 feet outside of our door. There's dirt everywhere. There's noise everywhere. I've got 3 boys, and it's just not going to be clean. So those are mine, and I want to encourage you as you are trying to figure out how to do this home management to purposefully plan what you are not going to do a good job at. Because if you can get those off of your plate, then you can focus on the things that you really do want to do a good job at, which is probably, maybe that's taking care of babies, and maybe that is really homeschooling and doing that in a really good way. Maybe that is teaching your kids to clean their own stinking bathroom, and that means you're gonna have to get used to a gross bathroom for a little while as they figure this out. So the second thing that I took from Finish is that if you can make your goal easier or simpler, like cut it in half or give yourself more time, then you should. Because perfectionism tells us that in order to manage your home well, you have to make sure that it is clean and that the meals are ready and that you are only planning one night of leftovers, but you've got fresh dinner every other night, and that the chores are all caught up with and the kids are dressed by 5 p.m. That's kind of how we approach home management. We think, okay, I'm really terrible at all of these things, and so what will help me make it perfect? And that's not going to happen. And that's okay, because we are not perfect and because we are doing other interesting things with our lives right now. You know what your interesting thing is, but everybody is different. And the house does not have to be a priority. The house has to be a home. It has to be somewhat taken care of and safe to live in. but it doesn't have to be perfect. You can still be winning at home management by giving yourself a little bit of slack there. So I told you what I'm doing that I'm not doing a good job at right now, and that kind of takes the pressure off of me. The other thing that I do is that I don't try to accomplish, like I have a list of things that I try to accomplish in a week, and I am super enthusiastic about that list, especially like on Sunday when I'm prepping for my week. I'm coming up with all these ideas and I'm gonna get them all done, right? And then I have to take a step back and I have to cross off like half of them. Because the reality is when I'm sitting at my table on Sunday, it feels like I'm going to get everything done this week. But what happens on Monday is that real life happens. And all of those ideas that I had are not going to, it's not going to happen. So I have to cross off half of them, and that way I know that I am finishing what's really important to me, and it's okay to let go of the rest. The other thing that I loved about Finish was that he talks about the day after perfect. So if you're doing a home management routine and you've got your printables that you found and you've got your chore list and you've got everything, and then one week just goes awful. Like either there was extracurricular activities or there was, someone got sick or whatever, but it's just everything it didn't work. It didn't work. Well, now you have a choice. You can choose to be like, oh, that didn't work, I give up. Or you can choose what you do the day after perfect. So as soon as everything blows up, which it will, because this is real life, you get to decide whether you're going to give up and not finish, or whether you're going to pick up your homemaking binder or look at your chore list and sit down on a Sunday or whatever day that you plan and just start again. And that doesn't mean that you failed. Because if you are starting again and you keep going, that's not failure. That's not giving up. That is continuing. That is going to eventually mean that you're going to finish because you didn't quit. A lot of times winning and finishing doesn't look like actually winning. It just means not giving up when everything goes terrible. And that's good enough because the whole point is to make a home that is somewhat that everyone enjoys living in, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it is perfect, okay? So when we are trying to figure out a home management system that works for us, I want to encourage you to recognize the difference between what is urgent and what is actually important. I want you to figure out your priorities, and whether that is using a system like the goal setting ideas or finding your own system, I want you to reject perfection, okay? Just know that perfection is not going to happen, and that's okay. Perfection wants you to think that if it's not perfect, then you lost, but that's not true, okay? Finishing means that you win. The fourth thing that I want to encourage you to do is to get practical. So this is the part where this is the part that when people talk about home management, we usually skip to this. And I didn't want to do that because I think that when we do that, then we start feeling like we have to be perfect and we start making all of these plans, and then it falls apart, and then we end up giving up. So I wanted to go through all of that prep ahead of time. And then the reality is home management is extremely practical, and so we need to be practical in our approach to this at this point. The way that I got practical was I took a little e-course by someone who I knew did a really good job of managing her home, and I learned a lot of really great things in that e-course, which I linked in the description below, but I'm going to run through how I applied that course to our family. The course is called Home Management How To, and one of the great things that she talked about was focusing on your daily routine, and where every day has a certain focus, and you don't focus on the other things on the days that, you only focus on this one thing this day. So the first thing I want to tell you about is habits versus tasks, okay? So a habit is a thing that you do that has to get done pretty much every day, okay? So for example, that would be like changing the baby's diaper. That would be feeding the kids lunch. That's throwing in a load of laundry. That's drinking water to take care of yourself. That is picking the kids up from school. Whatever you have to do pretty much every day, those are habits. Those are not tasks, okay? Habits are important, but I think quite often we tend to think that we treat them as the same thing, and then we feel like we failed when we didn't get everything done that we had to get done. But the habits are things that kind of have to happen no matter what, so don't worry about those. Those are going to happen because you're going to run out of clothes if you don't do the laundry. Or, you're going to have a problem if you don't pick up the kids from school. The tasks are the things that you choose to do that day in order to stay on top of things. And those are the things that usually come in home management. And so those are the things like making sure that the bathroom's clean, or meal planning, or going to the grocery store, or returning the phone call like to make dentist appointments or something like that. Okay, those are all tasks, and once you do them, you can cross them off and you're done, and you don't have to do them tomorrow. So with the home management system that I use, I have my habits that I do every day, and those things, they're going to happen no matter what. So I don't worry too much about them. And then the tasks, I have things that I want to do every day, but then I cut them in half because I want to finish. I don't want to try to be perfect because I can't be perfect. So the way that this works for us is that on Monday, we have our paperwork and desk day. So that is a fun day because I get to, if I have any thank you notes that I need to write, I'll do that then. That's when you set up any appointments. That's when you follow up on emails. You all of that kind of boring stuff that you would do on the laptop or on the phone or things like that. That gets pushed to this day. And I love Mondays because I hate doing all of those tasks. Really I hate talking on the phone. I hate setting up appointments. I just really don't like that. And so I love Mondays because I can, if something comes up on Tuesday or Wednesday and it's not an emergency, then I can just push it to Monday. And then on Monday, I sit down and I can do everything in an hour, 30 minutes, depending. The reality is these tasks aren't usually that big. They're just ones that nobody wants to do. And so if you can just set them aside for one day and sit down and do them for 30 minutes or an hour, or just depending on what your life looks like, then you're done. And that was your task for the day, and now you can just go about daily life. So that's our Monday. And then on Tuesdays, we focus on laundry. So that's when, if we need to strip the beds and wash the sheets, then I'll do that. That's when, honestly, that's when we fold the clothes, because I've been doing my laundry all week, every day, doing a load of laundry every day. But this is the time when I'm actually okay, everybody, we're gonna fold the clothes and we're actually going to put them away today, okay? For one day, all the clothes are gonna be put away. So that happens on Tuesdays. And then on Wednesdays, we have errands. So that's when we go to the library, we go to the CSA, we do grocery shopping, all that stuff. If I feel like I have to run to the store or something, or I need to return something or whatever, I push that all to Wednesday if I can help it. And that way we load the kids up, we pack a lunch, we're gone for several hours, and we get everything done so that nothing else is hanging over me the rest of the week. We'll have little, oh, we're out of this and we need to go get there. But if I can make it a whole week without doing the grocery shopping or, returning something to the library or whatever, I'm gonna try to make that happen on Wednesdays. And then Thursdays is my kitchen day, which is my favorite day, obviously. And that's when we do meal prep, and that's when I've usually already planned the meals for on my other day, which I'll talk to you about that in a minute. But on kitchen day, that's when I'll plan to stay home most of that day if I can, and we will do the meal prep. So we're still doing our habits, okay? I'm still doing the homeschooling. I'm still, we're still doing our load of laundry. We're still tidying up things and, living life. We might go to the playground, whatever it is that we have going on that day. But in between those tasks, I'm going to start some yogurt, and I'm going to, like make a loaf of bread and then let it rise, and then after school I'm gonna punch it down, and I've just kind of try to fit the meal prep in between all of our habits that day, so that I'm only putting like an hour or two of work into the kitchen, but with cooking, then a lot of times you have to wait, and so I'm getting lots of stuff done in between, and then it's done. Okay, so we've got our granola for the week, we've got our bread, we've got a bunch of veggies and salad stuff prepped in the fridge, and that makes eating healthy the rest of the week, especially like through the weekend when I try not to cook as much, a lot easier. So that's our Thursdays. And then on Friday, we clean. And this looks different for everybody. In Home Management How To, they have a really fabulous system for making sure that your house gets cleaned really well in a very simple way every cleaning day. But in this season of life, my intentional incompetence is cleaning the house. So I'm big on tidying the house, but for the most part on cleaning days, we just try to hit the bathrooms, and I try to dust, and we try to make sure that the floors are kind of clean, and then that's it. So that's what our cleaning day looks like. If we have like a big project that needs to happen, then we'll go ahead and try to do that on a Friday, but that's what our Fridays look like. And then Saturdays is rest. So that means part of my home management routine is to take a break. And that's really important to me because and my personality needs some quiet and alone time, and I can't just go. I don't thrive on that, and I become really cranky and not a nice person to live with. So Saturdays are a great day because those are the days that's the day that I sleep in, if I can. I read books, and as a parent, when I want to try to figure out one-on-one time with my kids, and that's hard to do when you're working and homeschooling and running errands and living life, but Saturdays are our fun day, and so that's the day that I'll sit and actually play Legos with my kids or something like that. It's not very long, it's not, you don't get any, I don't get any big parent points for it, but that's the day when I really try to just play and have fun and really focus on my people. I'm still doing my habits, so we're still trying to get dishes done, we're still trying to make a meal and all that, but I'm not filling up that day with other tasks because I've already accomplished those throughout the week. And so today's task is to rest. That's how I have to talk to myself in order to make myself rest. So, and then Sundays is catch-up day or prep day. And that's when I will make the menu plan, and I'll write out our schedule for the week. Because we homeschool, then I'll go ahead and fill in the work that they have to accomplish every day. And that's the day that I just kind of sit back and evaluate, okay, what actually needs to happen this week, and what can I get away with not doing. So that's when I'll make my list of everything that I need to do this week, and then I'll go through and I'll cross off half of it, because the reality is most of it doesn't need to happen. Just a few things need to happen to create a really great life and to manage your home really well. So that is our home management system, and I'm going to talk more throughout this week about how you can make that work for you, and I'm going to share in stories every day what we're doing, and the little principle that we use, and how we're crossing off that. And so if you follow along with stories, then you'll see a lot more there. And then I'm going to try to go live again and talk more about our routine and all that. And if you have any questions, go ahead and comment below with your question, because I will try to tackle that this week as well. So that is our home management routine, and I hope that encourages you that you don't have to make it perfect, and you should really be focusing on what's important to you. And maybe you got some ideas on how to make it really, really practical for you. So if you want to do the course, it is full of so many things that I realized I needed to adjust and that I wasn't doing and wasn't accomplishing, but the course makes it really simple. So you can check it out at the link in the description, and I also linked to the free goal setting series and Finish, the book that I really love that helped teach me a lot But I hope you guys have a great Tuesday. Thank you for joining me, and I will talk to you again later.